Hey everyone, and welcome to Already Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about The Leftovers, Season 2, Episode 3. It's called Off Ramp. Full spoilers for the episode. So, first things first, we did rightly predict that there'd be an episode about Tom and Laurie coming
Yeah,
up.
and do you know what? Just before we get into the episode as a whole, I want to just go with one thing. You know where I'm going with this because you gave me shit about this.
Mm,
Did they or did they not mention Australia again?
that doesn't mean we're going to spend Season 3 in Australia.
Doesn't mean it, but there's something going on in Australia.
No, there is. Clearly, there was like someone came back from the dead, or someone who was thought to be dead on the news.
Yeah.
They cut it off before the name was said properly. Yes, something's going on in Australia, right? Kevin's dad is up to something. Do you know what the worst part is, though? And I hate,
What?
I don't want to bring this up now, but you've mentioned it, and I feel like I have to be honest about this. I happened to spot a title of one of the episodes of season 3, just by accident.
Right.
And the title that I saw was "Good Day Melbourne," and I'm not, I'm not happy about this. Now, I still don't think that means that we're spending all of season 3 in Australia.
Okay, okay.
I don't think that means that.
All right.
But it does annoyingly mean that I'm one step closer to having to acknowledge that you're not a raving madman, and that upsets me.
Apologies.
You apologise to me. That's how this should go.
Yeah, I'm apologizing for being right. What's going on here?
Oh god. Okay. So Tom and Laurie,
Yeah.
their episode, and it played with our expectations at the start of the episode because it makes you think that the GR are. Well, I mean, they're still a thing. Obviously, we never thought they didn't exist anymore. Obviously, they still exist, though.
Mm.
But I thought, oh, Laurie's done with them, and like that was a season 1 thing. She's going to be over that now. She's going to be on to new things, and it starts with her like washing a car. And obviously later on there's more to this, but at least when the first 2 times I see her washing the car, I'm thinking, alright, this is symbolic. She's trying to get away, like she's trying to have a fresh start, so she's washing it, trying to make it sure it's
Yeah.
clean.
It's the
Obviously,
whole, like, when you see people with blood in their hands, like overwashing their hands.
yeah, obviously it turned out later on that she's literally having to clean it because she's running into people. But at least before then, I was like going with the metaphor until they got to that point. But you see Tom in the GR, and you're like, that seems like an odd move. But then I'm thinking, oh, he's meeting with Jill in the last, that felt like he was kind of had that attitude, maybe. Like I kind
Yeah,
of,
it was definitely off. We've mentioned that.
but they swerve you, because he's actually undercover. He's
Yeah.
got into the GR, noticing people who seem like they might be doubting that they're there, like they have doubts about what they're doing, getting them out and taking them to group therapy with Laurie, who was a psychiatrist, of course, before the
Yeah.
departure, and she's now doing that again. She's doing group therapy with people who have all came back from the Guilty Remnant, which is a really interesting idea. And then on top of that, she's also writing a book about her experience, and it's
Yes.
called Guilty. And I noticed the title in
Yeah.
the manuscript.
It's a good title.
It's a pretty good title. So that's what she's been up to, and that's kind of where we start off with her. And obviously, she's talking. She's like, like she's otherwise. I mean, she's eating a lot of gum because she's trying to give up smoking. But
Yeah.
other than that, like she's she's doing normal things. And Tom does appear to be a bit of a mess. He seems to be drinking a lot, but he does seem dedicated to doing what he's doing. Of course, that's tested, and he sort of doubts it later on in the episode as he goes through various things. Obviously, a big part of this episode, though, if I'm going to pick a plot thread to sort of stick to for now, is this woman named Susan, the woman who Tom gets out of the GR at the start of the episode.
Yeah. We follow her kind of recovery.
Yeah, her story is what tells us what Laurie's doing and how she does it. Where she gets them to this place. She's renting out like space in like an industrial building, well, not industrial, but like an office space. It's like
Yeah.
it should be an office like floor, but she's actually just rented out this big room, and she's got like little cots and things, and like you can stay here, you can do this, and this is where she has her group therapy meetings and all the rest of it. And we see her struggle at first. Like she refuses to talk. Like she's still like kind of like she's still not brainwashed, but she's still not comfortable like talking yet, and she eventually starts to talk. She eventually goes to see her family. And it's really interesting, like, because I was actually, there's this moment where Laurie's in the car and she's driven Susan to her family's house, and she's like sitting in the car watching, and Susan's walking up, and the kid's there, and the kid sees her and runs out. But I was a little bit worried that the husband would have a very different reaction, and it was going to turn very dark. Like, I was really kind of expecting, and it didn't. It kept going, and it ended up being quite nice. We see her at the next meeting, and she's talking about how he invited her inside and was asking her if she's coming home soon, and she felt like she didn't deserve to just be welcomed back like that. Like, she was expecting him to be angry at her and not just wanting to forgive her, and that's like a big crux of the episode, and like kind of like dealing with, like, once you've left the GR, do you feel fulfilled that you had this big thing and now you've got a void there where it was before? And obviously, as we're seeing this happen to her, we're like, well, did Laurie go through this? Is she still going through it?
Yeah, you kind of assume that the book she's obsessing over is kind of the there to fill the void. It's kind of, you know, the family that Susan has.
Yeah,
it's kind of, that's the book for Laurie.
Yeah, and she's obsessing over, because obviously it comes a point in the episode where she thinks she's lost her book. Okay, it's on her laptop, and she's not like getting any copies of it. She's not been. I mean, seriously, people store it in the cloud. Like, there's a reason.
Even Tom's like, you didn't email it to yourself?
Yeah, that is the most simple, basic way of doing it. Just email it to yourself, guys. It's a Word document.
It's not hard.
But no, it's like, so, and this woman, like, things seemingly are going better for her, but she still seems to be struggling. And there's, like, on one of her sessions in the therapy, like, the guilty remnant sort of break in and try and, like, go quote unquote speak to her. But Laurie grabs the bit of paper that he's writing on and, like, scrumbles it down, and she's like, you know, she's angry. She tells him to get out. But we see her, Susan, like, pulls it out of her purse later on. She actually still has it, and she reads it, and it says any day now. And of course, my mind's like, any day now till what?
Yeah,
exactly. And I was, are they thinking there's going to be a second departure as well? Is that maybe what they're, you know, I don't know. But she's driving with her family, and you can tell something's not quite right. And it gets obviously very dark very quickly, where she veers into the wrong lane and rams head on into a truck. Killing herself, obviously, but presumably her whole family. They never quite confirm it, of course, but the reactions of everyone around, Laurie's reaction to the phone call, the group therapy session afterwards where they're all, like, distraught at the end of the episode, all of it tells you that, no, they're all dead.
It's a fair question.
But, like, so that's obviously affecting what Laurie's going through, and it's actually, she gets that phone call, she's gotten a call back for her book. Like, she's meeting a publisher.
Yeah.
Which, first of all, weird seeing her with straightened hair again, because obviously she's got that big frizzy kind of thing going the whole time. But she's straightened her hair. She's bought some clothes that she can't afford.
Yeah, but she's fine. She's gonna return.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like when you're working at a clothes shop and they say, oh, so what's your returns policy? Because she's buying $800 worth of clothes, right? There's a pretty mighty price.
Yeah, but they don't care. They're getting paid either way.
Sure. But you think, oh, yeah, but I mean, processing returns is a bit of a pain.
Just hope it's not you in that day when she comes back.
True. But she's doing all this. She's going to make an impression. She's excited about, like, maybe getting her book published. And like we say, there was a whole thing where she ran out of money. She couldn't pay the rent on the building, and the landlord stole her laptop. And she breaks into the guy's house and takes her kid's playing, like, World of Warcraft or something on it, and she just grabs it and makes a run for it. Which is, of course, when we finally see why she keeps washing the car.
Yeah.
Basically, she keeps running into the guilty remnant. You know, we've seen them before all last season. They come in
twos. They're all over the place.
Yeah, and they're in pairs, and they stand in the road staring at her when she, like, stops to look at them, and she, you know, buckles in.
She revs up and she makes it very clear: move or you're gonna get hit.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like it's almost, it reminds me of in season 1 when, like, someone would give, like, her an ultimatum to speak. Like, you know, like when Kevin was like, oh, I'll give you a divorce, but you have to say it. Like, I'm not going to sign that unless you say it. It almost feels like an accent, you know, not accented, a bigger
Extension.
version of that. Extension, there you go. Like, it feels like that, but turned up to 11, where she's like, all right, I'm going to ram into you, so move out of the way. But of course, they refuse to. They take the hit. And you really get this sense of, like, not only just this void that's, like, kind of there, but also this guilt, because we see in this episode when she's telling the story, eventually at the therapy about herself. Like that's the one thing therapists never typically do is talk about themselves. That's like the number one rule. But she decides to do so because she, once one of them's killed themselves and their families, she's like, okay, right, I need to break out all the stops. And it's before that as well. It was in a meeting with the publisher, and the publisher's talking about all these events that he read about in the manuscript, and he's like, oh, the thing with the lighter, we need emotion, we need all this, we need to jazz it up and get the feeling behind it. And you almost get the sense that she didn't have much feeling in it because she's not really admitted how she feels about any of it.
Yeah, she's just writing the events as they happened, but she's not actually stopped to think how she feels.
And what you really feel through all this, because obviously we've seen in the last episode that she gave a letter to Jill that Tom passed on. Maybe we get that event from their side of it, in this episode, which it doesn't amount to much beyond, oh, you're going to see Jill tomorrow. Can I give you a letter? Can you give her a letter? And we see her sitting in the car and stuff. But it basically amounts to what you expect it to. But later on, as she's talking to the publisher, she's getting these flashbacks, these quick moments of, you couldn't save her, you were just standing there watching, you couldn't do anything, you felt powerless. And it's like, oh, you really get the sense that it was this happening to Jill and Jill getting into this position that did kind of snap her out of it and made her realise what the Guilty Remnant actually was and what she was doing and how extreme it got and where she was going with it. So there is this nice turnaround, because I think at the start of the episode when they were kind of teasing, oh, maybe she hasn't left the GR, maybe both her and Tom are part of it.
Yeah.
Because there was that whole thing, as it was cutting between him at the GR and she was setting up a cot, it reminded me of the cots and stuff in the GR's place. And
I think that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah, it reminded me. It felt like she was setting up her own GR base. Like she was
right. So she was going to start her own chapter.
Yeah. But obviously it swerved, and I'm glad it did, because I think the idea that she left and then is dedicated herself to actually helping the opposite way.
Yeah, and I have to wonder, will she regress? Because this is a question I have with Susan. Did she regress, or was this always the plan? Was she was she undercover, so to speak? That note that said, any day now. Was that a signal, do this and prove a point to her, or did she just regress?
Little column A, little column B.
Right, but if she can regress and do something like that, will Laurie?
I think it's. I mean, it could be. I mean, obviously, some stuff that happens with Tom later in the episode makes me think, oh, maybe she was planted, and it was all kind of. But it felt more genuine. That it felt like she actually did want to leave, and she was trying really hard. But then the note reminded her of what she's supposed to do, and I almost get the sense that maybe this wasn't exactly what she was supposed to do, but she kind of improvised because this will have the same effect, kind of thing. It's any day now you have to do your thing. And she turned it into what she did. It
just became a statement, didn't it?
Yeah. And I don't think she... I'm saying this because of the end of the episode and where it goes, but I don't think she will regress, partly because it feels that she is going to start to find herself again. Especially since, when Tom gets her out of jail, because the whole publisher meeting ends with her snapping and diving across the room and I actually thought it was going to cut back to her sitting in the chair as if she was imagining it.
And then it just cuts to her in jail.
Yeah, it felt like that kind of moment, and then it cut to the jail cell, and I'm like, oh, okay, right, she just actually did that. Okay, fair enough. But because Tom, the last time we seen Tom before this scene, he's actually. It almost sounds like he wants to join the GR properly, because he's like, oh, maybe they know something, maybe they actually have an idea of what's going on. Because this obviously takes place after his whole... he gets caught. Basically, he tries to do the same thing again with this other woman in the GR, and she blows a whistle instead. And and it's almost funny how they're all wearing white, because it's like the men in white coats coming to...
I also like that they've kept the whistles.
Oh, yeah, that was an interesting point, yeah. Kept the whistles. And not the same chapter either. It's interesting that spread.
It is. They were like, do you know what? This is a good idea. We're going to use that.
Yeah. So he gets dragged off in a truck, and it's all very weird. I'm like, I'm not sure where this is going. We've never really seen the GR do this. What is their protocol for this? Have they ever had an intruder before? Kind of idea. And obviously, when they open the doors and it's that blinding light, you can't really see anything. It's all sort of out of focus, and you can just barely see a figure. I'm like, all right, it's Meg. This is how Meg comes into it. Yeah. And obviously, immediately that's some questions pop up. It's like, okay, how high ranking is she now? It's only been a few months at this point
Yeah.
since the end of season 1. You know, it was a 2 month jump before the Garveys decided to leave and go off, and this took place around that same time because that's Jill just,
Yeah,
you know,
it's pretty parallel with that.
yeah. So it's like, okay, so how high ranking is she? And it is kind of interesting the idea that, you know, as Laurie left, she became more like hardcore and ingrained into it. Like she actually has gone off the deep end. And then the following scenes actually really open to interpretation for me as to what the point of it. No, I get the end of it. Like when, you know, at the end of it when he's outside and she douse him with gasoline, and she like kneels down and says, "Tell your mom Meg says hi," and it's like, oh, she knows who he is. She knows exactly what's going on, and it's like this. And it's almost like, okay, she's going to be the arch nemesis now for
Yeah,
Laurie's
it
story.
was a statement of threat. You're going, look,
Yeah.
I can do this. I know what's going on. Watch yourself.
Yeah, and it was a message to Laurie specifically. It's like, stop it. Like
It felt like that moment that paralleled Laurie with the car. You know, when she was giving them the warning, and then they didn't move out of the way. And this felt like she was giving her the, you know, with the gasoline and the lighter, was like, that's the warning. It's like, are you going to move out of the way, or are you going to stay there and get hit?
Yeah. And I don't think she will move out of the way. I feel like this. I think this is a very interesting thing where she's almost created her own arch nemesis by her. It was her that recruited her, that trained her.
Yeah.
And like it's kind
Her
of
that's
this,
left the void when she's left.
yeah. So it'll be really interesting to see like how this develops. But obviously before this, in the truck, like she shuts the door, and she strips him from the waist down, takes off her own underwear, and then has a very, very quick sort of, I mean, it's basically sexual assault session. And I was like, throughout this whole thing, I was like, what? This is a weird punishment for what he's just done. Like, I don't make make light of the situation. Obviously, it's pretty extreme, but like I wasn't understanding what the point of it, what the purpose of it was. Like, what was her intention here? And the only thing I can really get to, when thinking about it, is the whole thing as a whole after what she does outside. It's this kind of act of dominance. Like, I can do whatever I want. You are merely a pawn, and it's kind of like, you know, in a really kind of sort of caveman or cavewoman in this sense, way of like, you know, marking her territory. It's like, I can own you, kind of thing. Like that is all I can get to.
Yeah, that's pretty much as far as I got as well, because otherwise it just seems out of place, doesn't it? Because it's very strange.
I've never seen the GR do something sexual before. It's never been like that.
No, it hasn't. Not at all.
But even then, like, what she's wearing is also very different. Like, she's not wearing the typical white. I mean, it's still fairly white, but
it's still white, but it's an actual dress rather than the uniforms.
And it does make her feel like she's more of a, like, she's higher ranking. She's maybe not the head honcho, but she's certainly
the head of this area.
Yeah, it seems like it.
They're like, it seems like that they're all answered to her in this scene, at least.
Which is interesting. What did she do to achieve that?
Yeah, exactly.
Makes me wonder if we'll get an episode about her down the line, explaining how she got to this point.
I can see it.
Yeah, but it's interesting. And obviously, like, that could be a very fascinating episode. That'd almost be a completely silent episode, I imagine. Just
that'd be really interesting. An entire episode just within the GR.
Yeah, obviously, like if they interact with other people, the other people might scream at them. And we even see Tom getting screamed at when he's like pretending to be in the GR at one point.
Yeah.
But after all this, he questions. He never actually tells Laurie what happened to him. He just asks who Meg is.
Yeah.
And Laurie like just answers in a very honest, like, oh, she was someone we recruited, and I've not seen her since. Like, she's not expecting this show of force, this retaliation that she's somehow incurred. But it's it's just that. But he sounds very much in that scene like he's tempted to go that way. He's thinking, oh, maybe they actually have. So when he gets her from the jail, it's almost like the shock of her being arrested kind of snaps him out of that a little bit. And
it was kind of like he was just because the old undercover trap, isn't it? Like, they kind of buy into it.
Yeah, a little bit. And it's when he's sitting in the car and he's like, look, it's not your fault. Like, they leave this void. Like, they want some sort of answer. They provide kind of an answer, or at least something to do about it. And then once you take it away, it doesn't matter. Like, it's gone. And she's like, well, we need to fill it with something else. And obviously there's a tease early on in the episode where Tom fell asleep watching an old Wayne video, like one of Wayne's early YouTube kind of hits where he's like talking about himself in public and like explaining the whole hug thing, and that it can take pain away from people. And so I was not expecting this last scene. This last scene, like,
Came out of nowhere.
it did come out of nowhere. They get everyone together. Laurie tells about herself and talks about Patty and talks about all these different things, and it's very emotional. It's very honest, and she brings all this stuff up. And then she's like, "But I had to, like, not let Tom tell his story to keep him safe. But now it's time for you to tell that story." And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where's this
okay.
going? Exactly. And obviously he tells stuff that we know about. He starts with, I was with Holy Wayne, you heard about him. I never believed about the hugs, but, then I seen it and it seemed real. Like, I believed him after that. Yeah. And he asked me to take care of this girl who was pregnant, and he described her leaving. And up until that point, it's like, okay, right, he's telling all the stuff we know about, and it didn't feel redundant or anything. It was kind of like Laurie's stuff in the publisher. It was like, okay, it's nice to actually hear about all these season 1 events again, and it was kind of putting them in perspective and where they are now, and
Yeah, and obviously you got to remember this was a year later, so it's a bit of a recap for everyone without it being seeming forced, because it made
obviously,
sense.
yeah, for us it's a couple of weeks, but for at the time it would have been a year later. In fact, more than a year, because this was like, for season 1 was summer, season 2 was like October. It started.
You're right. It was later, wasn't it?
So up until that point, all stuff we know about, and then he's like, and then there was a knock on the door, and I'm like, wait a minute, we cut from that scene before anything else. What's this? It's like, Wayne was there, and I don't know how he knew we were there, but he was there, and I'm like, holy shit, where is this going? Like, and do you know what I like about this? I like the idea that because we never saw this, it kind of makes it feel more like a story from the Bible, where it's just someone telling a story of the holy man doing something.
Yeah.
It makes it feel more like that because we never actually saw it.
Yeah, and his delivery of this whole monologue was fantastic.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Like, you get completely enthralled in it.
Yeah, I think the acting from both him and Laurie in this were great. The scene, in fact, her driving, it's when she just strolled a laptop and she just had this like happiness, this elation on her face, and it was like she was just like so proud of herself. Like her expression said all that.
She's had a few moments, like in the publisher, when they were like, "Yeah, but what does the GR? What do they believe?" And she's like, she just comes out with, "They believe the world ended." But the way she just says it, there's such a statement, but the simplicity of it.
Yeah. So yeah, he continues, and he says that Wayne said, he told him where to take the baby, so that was Wayne's idea, which is interesting. It's also interesting. This is taking place a day before we saw him meet Kevin.
Yes.
Because I don't know if he knew that was Tom's father. There was no indication that he did in the scene.
No, there wasn't at the time.
But it does add this weird thing where we assumed that Kevin wished to have a family again, but he's already actually told Tom to take the baby to his parents or his father.
Yeah.
At the very least, from the sounds of it. And
which that whole moment where he's like, "Oh, that I can do, wish granted."
Yeah.
It's like he's like, "Oh, I've already taken care of that one."
Yeah, but the way he smiles about it, though, because even if he does know it's Tom's father, and I don't necessarily think he does, but let's say he does, right?
Yeah.
It almost gives it this, destiny's already ensured that's happening, so I've achieved it, rather than smug, like, oh, well, I can say that I've done that now.
Yeah, but it's more, it's pride, because it affirms that he was right to do it to himself.
Do you actually think he knows that it's Tom's father, though?
I don't know. I kind of hope not, because it takes away some of the randomness.
There's no logical reason he should know.
There isn't, unless Tom had shown pictures of him or something.
That is the only way that I could think of that he'd know.
Which isn't unfeasible, because, I mean, when we saw Kevin calling Tom on his phone, they had a picture set for him.
True. But that doesn't necessarily mean the other way around, though. Like, Tom's phone might not have had pictures.
No, it was Tom's. When Kevin was phoning Tom at the start of the first season.
Oh, right, okay, sure.
When it came up on the phone, it had Kevin's face there.
Oh, right, okay, fair.
So Wayne could have feasibly seen it.
Feasibly, but again, not concrete.
It's I guess it's a bit of a long shot still, but it's not outside the realms of possibility.
I like to think that he didn't know.
Yeah,
I think it works better for me if he didn't know.
Yeah.
So right, so he says that, and it's like, okay, that's interesting enough, and then it goes down a path that I was not expecting, and it's very interesting because all of a sudden, like, Tom's path now for this season is, and Laurie as well to a point, and this is where, like, how I said, like, Meg's kind of the arch nemesis now. It really, because now it feels like the cult of, we'll call it still Wayne, the cult of Holy Wayne versus the GR, it kind of feels like that's the opposing forces now.
Yeah, it does. We got a war going.
Especially since one of them is about, oh, our feelings don't matter. Get over it. We need to remind everyone to like feel bad. And then, Wayne, the cult of Wayne, and now Tom is all about, no, you can feel better. I can take your pain away, and you can live your life. So yeah, he reveals that Wayne said he was going to pass it to him. Like that he hugged him, and it was the way he described it as well. I thought was really good. Obviously, the acting you mentioned is very good, but even just the way it was written in the script, it's like I saw my birth through to my death, like my entire existence, over and over again. I thought that was a really interesting line.
It was.
Because there's so many things you could have written there that would have sounded kind of hokey or sounded, but that felt kind of poignant and kind of meaningful, even if it is kind of gobbledygook. It doesn't really matter. Like, it sounded good. So, no, it's very good, and it actually ends up mirroring that scene on the YouTube video earlier on where he's like, he stands up and says, "Would anyone like a hug?" And that's kind of where we leave it off.
Yeah, it's great, and it also, going back to last episode when he met Jill, and he was sick, and we were like, it seems really weird that he's sick that much, and we were like, I'm sure there's something to it, but
yeah, and now it's like he didn't want to, take her pain away accidentally because he didn't know how to do it.
Yeah, and also we saw how Wayne got progressively sicker and sicker. So maybe like just even he's saying, oh, he's not been using it, but even still, maybe it's still kind of it's in him, it's still affecting him.
Maybe. I'd almost like to read it as he was just pretending though, because he didn't want to. Because he was worried that human contact would.
Accidentally do it.
Even though Jill theoretically doesn't have that pain anymore, like, cause she is fine. But you can sort of look at the rest of his arc here in these last couple of episodes, and even the final scene of him in the season finale of season 1, and go, oh right, okay, there's actually more to this. Like, you can go back and like, okay, his thought process is completely different because he's dealing with the fact that he's now hiding the fact that he might have this ability.
Right.
So
that was one of the few things we were a little bit, not questioning at the end of the season. Tom and Laurie's direction. Like, what was the story there? What do they know? Like, what's the purpose? And now I get it. Now it's clear where it's going and why they're together and doing their thing.
Yeah. Now the only question that I have is that, so you've got. Well, it's actually a three-pronged war. You've got this arch nemesis between the GR and now Tom and Laurie, right? And they're doing the opposite message almost, and she's trying to sort of make up for what she did by helping those who she thinks she can bring back, and that's all good, and that's a very good story. But it's still now that feels very separate from the Garveys in this new miracle town, and like dealing with the new family next door and all the rest of it. So I now I wonder, like, so how, maybe not even this season, maybe season 3, but how do these converge later on again?
And I mean, that's been going on throughout season 1. Like, Tom's whole plot in season 1 was very divorced. I mean, it didn't even come into it till the very end, where he gave up the baby to them.
Yeah, that's true. And ultimately, it felt like set up for this plot in season 2 rather than its own thing.
Right, exactly. Because that was the one plot I think I was a bit, left feeling cold with, because it didn't really have that development to where it went.
Yeah, all the meat of the story went into the other plots, and then this one felt a little bit left over.
Right, that was awful, but but yeah, now I go, oh, okay, this is an actual story now. Even if it's still separate, but it makes me go, okay, they want to tell this story.
Well, I think
how does it feed in?
Yeah, I think what makes it work though is not only does it make his character a lot more interesting than he was before, and it adds this extra interesting dynamic to it. It has so much weight behind it now because all of that GR stuff that we set up. As just as a concept, but also with the characters of Laurie and Meg in season 1, all that now belongs to that story, to Tom's story now.
Right.
And all of that feeding into that makes that feel like, okay, a lot of this is a lot more meaty, it's a lot more relevant. So much that we did in season 1 is now relevant to all of this stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, I think it works really well, and that's fun. I'm actually excited to see where this goes now. And I think it'll be funny, like, how do we intercut between the stories now, or do we just like, do we go without this for a couple of episodes and then we get a full episode of this again? Like, how is it going to tackle that now?
Yeah, it's hard to call at this point.
Yeah, it's because especially since these 3 episodes have been very. I mean, obviously 1 and 2 were a lot more linked because they eventually had. But even this one had a little bit of that other side of the same scene thing with the Jill scene.
But ultimately, we're still right at the end of this episode. We're still at the point that we were at the end of the first episode chronologically. We've not really progressed beyond that.
That'd have been the funny thing, actually, if they somehow tied the end of this into the pool.
Honestly, if it hadn't ended on like a big moment like that, I'd have expected to see it on like a news report or something.
But fascinating. So I'm assuming we're going back to the town next episode, though. Like, I feel like
I feel like we have to move
Yeah.
beyond that now and progress there.
yeah. So no, that was a good episode, though. Like I've had. I will say this about this season so far compared to season. I don't think that. We obviously we'd heard that season 2 and 3 were a step up, and I don't necessarily think that any of the episodes yet in season 2 are better than the best of season 1. Like, those last like 3 or 4 episodes of season 1 were so good. I don't think these episodes beat that, but I do think these episodes compared to the start of season 1 all feel a lot more confident and focused than those did.
Right.
You know,
Definitely.
I think, and they all feel distinct as well. They all feel like they each tell their own individual story. Whereas I think in the first half of season 1, it was a little bit more kind of serialized and a kind of like, okay, let's just catch up with all the characters every episode for a little while.
Right. And this here was like, no, we've got a story for this family, we've got a story for this family, we've got a story for these, and we're going to tell that. And, forget about all the distractions of all the other stuff. We're going to tell that story, and we're going to get to the point where it needs to be.
Yeah, and it treated things like big moments. Like, Meg popping back into it was like a big moment. She had this grand entrance. Them referencing moments from season 1 when they're talking about the book and the manuscript and making light of it and like bringing up these painful memories. Like everything felt like it was building on everything that we've seen set up in season 1. Everything feels like it's relevant to the history.
Even the smaller things, like when she was in with the publisher and they talk about the book from the other guy that was in Nora's episode.
Yeah, what's next?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, that was good.
I will say I have had a bit of a complaint with this season so far. Mainly these 2 episodes. I really noticed it, especially in episode 2, but it was kind of coming up here again. I feel like they didn't get much new score recorded. And it feels like there's an over-reliance on source music. Because we got some in the first season, towards the end, but not much. But here I feel like in this episode, there was a couple of big moments that had it. There was a few last episode.
There was a new composition in this.
There
episode.
was at least one new piece, but I feel like maybe they didn't get
because it played
as
a few
much.
times in this episode.
Right.
It was almost like it was a new Laurie theme for her new journey.
Yeah, like I'm not saying they've got no score.
Yeah.
Of course, there is new score, but there's still a lot of the old themes coming in. I don't know if they got as much as they maybe wanted originally, or if they chose to move towards using some source music as well. But it felt like there was quite a lot in these last couple of episodes to me compared to what we'd had before.
I'll be honest, I didn't really notice. I'm not too fussed. I actually quite like the old themes coming back. Like,
Yeah.
because it felt like it had the new theme early on, and it did have none of the main themes again from season 1 until towards the end of the episode. And it was when Susan pulls out the note. That was when one of the main themes came back, and I'm like, oh, okay. And it felt like a big moment because of that. And the music from season 1's so good that
I'm happy to hear it at any point. Yeah,
it's one of the things that I love about TV, more so than movies, because one of the things that irritates me so much with some movie series when it's like a franchise is when they abandon the score from the previous movies and they don't use any of the themes, and I'm like, no, this just feels so different. Like, stop
well, that's it. It's with movies, they've got the budget to do whole new things every time, so they go, oh, we can do something new, so let's. Whereas with TV, by their nature, they have to reuse things because they've got a budget, and they're like, well, let's just build on that then.
Yeah, but I actually think it works out in their benefit almost, because I feel
do
like
as well, yeah.
because you build these themes that you keep coming back to, and you can overuse certain ones, sure, but in this case, I don't think it's usually a problem, at least.
No.
The example I always go back to is the Terminator franchise, because I feel like Terminator franchise shows how to do it. Because 1 to 2, right? Terminator 1 to 2, 2 has a completely new score, right?
Yeah.
But it has the main theme, and it plays with that main theme and does different things with it, but it's still there. It still feels like the Terminator theme in Terminator 2. All the percussion in the back's changed, even though it's still got a very sort of, like, I think most people remember Terminator 2 music when they think of Terminator, because they hear the dun 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 dun, and that is there a little bit in Terminator 1, but, Terminator 1's a lot more boom 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 boom. But the idea of a pulse, but it does different things with it. It brings in different like orchestra sections that they never used in Terminator 1, because Terminator 1 was mostly synth, but Terminator 2 is like, no, let's go full orchestral and do all this stuff. But it has the same theme, so it feels like they took the same core idea, but
And
gave
expanded it.
gave it all this weight. And another example is Phantasm 1 to 2. Phantasm 1, very simple little creepy piano theme. And then Phantasm 2, which is still a horror movie, but it's more of an action horror movie. This is the more epic thing with like chanting in the background, but it's the same main theme, and it sounds badass. And the reason why I'm using Terminator as an example, though, is because then you get to Terminator 3, the main theme, it's in the end credits, to be fair, but other than that, nowhere to be found. Never plays during the film. And it's like...
Because that's the thing, when you have a main theme like that, it feels like a moment when you hear it again. It's a triumphant moment, isn't it? And here it's, in Leftovers, when they play that theme, it's like, oh, this is a poignant moment. And because this theme that is kind of been built into you now.
And they've got like 3 or 4 of them that are all quite distinct as well.
That they are, yeah.
So,
but I mean, there was that in this one. There was the whole montage towards the start where you had the piano cover of "Where Is My Mind." That was going on, and there was a even just when she was using the radio, it was like quite a lot for over these scenes, like where she was running the people over.
There's a lot of drums in this as well.
Yeah, there was a lot of drums in this, yeah, which I was enjoying a lot.
A lot of drums. I like the song that played. I mean, when I say I like the song, I don't necessarily like the song, but I liked the song that played in the car radio because it felt like it fit the moment with her.
No, it's true. I just feel like between the 2 episodes that we've had here, there's already been more source music than there has in all of season 1. Okay. Like in terms of not just in the background, but in terms of actually playing for the moments.
I think that's maybe just a conscious choice for season 2 that they've made for whatever reason.
It might be because obviously the opening theme is very different, and it's more of a song.
Yeah, I mean, I hate the opening titles, but I didn't really like the season 1 ones either, so that's fine. I wonder if it's maybe because they thought they were using the score too much in season 1, and they wanted to dial it back.
Save it for the moments, perhaps.
Yeah, because to be fair, the times it's played so far in season 2 have all felt kind of more special because it hasn't been as constant as season 1 did. Yeah. And maybe that's the choice, and maybe that's why it's more source music for some of the other scenes, like where it feels more appropriate. So I can see that.
Yeah.
But no, I am excited to see where this goes. They offered me a lot of new things here. I think it's very interesting that there's been so much new ideas in 3 episodes. This town that no one departed from, plus the fear that it will happen again, like all these new ideas, and then in this episode, this idea of this setup of a war between the GR and now the hugging cult. Like, so it's just fascinating to me like how much they've done in 3 episodes to with new ideas on top of what they already set up.
And it's a really bold choice on their part to just go, no, we're going to introduce all these new ideas in the first 3. We're not going to build on anything. Because obviously they've all ended at chronologically more or less the same point, like especially the first 2.
Yeah, so obviously it's hard to say where this one ends exactly.
Right, but you assume it's more or less.
Yeah.
But they haven't gone past and explored the ideas yet. They've gone, right, here's all the new ideas. Well, it will show a little bit in those individual episodes, but we'll get to them. It's kind of it's a strong choice, I think.
Does Tom show up in the finale and hug John and take his pain away, stopping him from being a evil fireman, burn down your house asshole?
Is that too easy?
Well, maybe it depends how to do it, but I'm kind of thinking it happens by chance, and Tom gets a sense that he needs it, and it kind of it happens because he needs it, and I can see that
true.
working.
Wayne seemed to know who needed it.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily saying Kevin phones him up and is like, "Hey, I need you to de-asshole someone, please."
Yeah, that would be strange.
Yeah, especially since Kevin doesn't even know about this. If he ever finds out, I'm curious to what the reaction might be.
Oh, I can't wait till if he does find out. I want it to be on a YouTube video like the one we saw of Holy Wayne. Jill just stumbles across it.
Oh, that might be quite good. I mean, actually, what if he comes home and he hugs Kevin, right? He comes to, well, I say home, he doesn't live there, but he comes to visit them, and for some, maybe once they've dealt with their journey this season, they say, okay, it's time to actually try and go and make it. You have to see Jill, Laurie.
Yeah.
I need to see Kevin and speak to him. Because I feel like we have to have a Kevin Tom scene at some point, because all that stuff at the start of this, the first season where he was trying to call him and he was worried about him and he never got called back. I feel like you have to pay off in that by finally having some sort of scene with them. Outside of the flashback episode, obviously, when it was pre.
Yeah, it doesn't count.
Departure. I feel like you have to have that payoff, and then maybe that won't be till next season or whatever. But I wonder if maybe that's how Kevin almost gets cured of his thing, his whole other half, when he's sleeping, kind of thing. But he doesn't know he's going to get cured of that. He just he hugs Tom or some, like, I don't know. I can just I can
It's
see
just reconnecting with his son. Yeah.
yeah, I can see Tom's new thing playing into the plots by him just maybe being at the right place to like take care of something, but because I can see it almost playing out where we don't know he's going to be there, and that's just when they happen to arrive is at the right time.
Right, and I think when you kind of have there, right place, right time. That kind of
Yeah.
mirrors a lot of what Wayne did at the end there with Kevin. Right place, right time. That's all it was.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I'm curious. I'm really fascinated by all the ideas it's introduced. They've got a lot of things to play with, and I'm really curious to see what the next episode is. So, this has been Off Ramp, episode 3 of season 2 of The Leftovers. So by all means, let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. You can also help us out and support us on Patreon over at patreon.com/mailoffuzztv if you want to do that. But otherwise, guys, that is us. So thank you very much for watching. Keep watching TV, and we will see you next time.